Good afternoon. Welcome to Math with Mrs. Bibb. I want to do a video here to help students with factoring. It's such an abstract concept that sometimes it takes quite a while for students to grasp that concept. So I wanted to take some time now and do a few examples. It's very, very important to watch these examples and maybe even take these same examples and try them on your own. And if you get stuck, you could come back and watch this video. So I want to say or remind you that always, always, always look for a greatest common factor first when you're factoring. This is very, very important. Probably the number one most important thing that you can do is look for a greatest common factor. In this trinomial that I do have a common factor. Each of these coefficients are divisible by 2. I don't have a variable that's a common factor, but I do have a coefficient that's a common factor, and that's 2. So I'm going to factor out that 2. 2x squared divided by 2 is x squared. Negative 6x divided by 2 is negative 3x. Negative 56 divided by 2 is negative 28. The next thing that I'm going to do, since I have a trinomial, I'm going to name A, B, and C. So in this new trinomial that I have, A is 1, B is negative 3, and C is negative 28. Now I'm going to bring down my greatest common factor of 2 and go ahead and set up my final answer. When you're factoring, your answer is a product of polynomials. In this case, I'll have a monomial times a binomial times a binomial. Then I'm going to focus on only this trinomial. I can forget about that common factor that I had, since now it's in my answer. And I'm going to focus on this trinomial. The next thing I'm going to do is make a chart. In this chart, I want factors of A times C, the things that multiply to give me A times C, A times C. Those factors are, let me mention this next. And I want a sum of B. This affects which factors I put here. I want to be smart and not overwork myself, because there are many factors of negative 28. For example, positive 1 and negative 28, negative 1 and positive 28. I want to be smart and choose just the one pair of factors that I would possibly need. I want my sum to be a negative. When you're adding a positive and a negative number, to get a negative sum, the larger integer should be negative. So 1 times negative 28 multiplies to give me negative 28, but it does not add to give me negative 3. It adds to give me negative 27, so that's not the pair that I want. The next pair of factors, 2 times negative 14. 2 times negative 14 is negative 28. 2 plus negative 14 is negative 12, so that does not give me a sum of negative 3. 3 does not divide evenly into 28, so 3 is not one of my factors. 4 does divide evenly into 28, negative 28. 4 divides into negative 28, negative 7 times. What's 4 plus negative 7? And that is negative 3. So I have found my pair of factors that works. Then final thing that you do, and really there's two choices. If A is 1, then you can go straight to your answer. These go into your parentheses. If A is not 1, I'm going to put straight to answer. If A is not 1, then you need to do factoring by grouping, or there's another method that you can use, and you can go to my YouTube channel and watch that other method if you'd like. But I want to show grouping because it seems to be the most successful for all students, and I want to be consistent on this video. So now that I'm at my answer, my A value is 1, I can actually go ahead to my answer. Remember, always use your middle variable. X goes here. The reason, when you multiply two binomials, x times x gives me x squared. So that middle variable gives you your clue as what you need to put. Then this is a positive 4. I would put plus 4. This is a negative 7, so I would put minus 7. Now, it is perfectly fine if you do that in a different order. Again, use that middle variable x. You may put negative 7 first, and then positive 4. We have factored that original trinomial. Factoring is rewriting a polynomial as a product of several polynomials, or a monomial. Let's go on to number 2, and I won't spend as much time going over every single step. Do I have a common factor? Yes, I do. 3 is my common factor. 3x squared divided by 3 is x squared. 33x divided by 3 is 11x. 54 divided by 3 is, I don't remember, 18. Positive 18. Now name A, B, and C. Since I don't have a common factor anymore, I do have a trinomial. So when I have a trinomial, I'll name A, B, and C. Make my table, factors of A times C. That will give me a sum of B. Factors of 18, positive 18, that give me a sum of positive 11. That means a positive times a positive gives me a positive, and a positive plus a positive will give me a positive. So I've got 1 times 18. When I add those, I get 19, so that's not it. 2 times 9. When I add those, I get 11. 2 plus 9 is 11. So I found my answer. Bring down your greatest common factor. A is 1, so I can go ahead and set up these parentheses. Middle variable of x, because x times x is x squared. A positive 2 and a positive 9. That's the answer there. And this is the work that I would expect to see from you. Okay, next, for number 3, do I have a common factor? No, I don't have a common factor. So I can immediately name A, B, and C. And then I can make my table, factors of A times C, that will give me a sum of B. Okay, so I have a negative product and a positive sum. That means that my factors are one going to be positive and one's going to be negative. And it also means that the larger one will be positive because I want a positive sum. So negative 1 times 27 gives me 26 when I add, so that cannot be it. 2 does not divide evenly into 27. 3 does. Negative 3 times 9 is negative 27. Negative 3 plus 9 is 6. So I found my pair that works. Then I don't have a common factor, so I won't need a number out front the way I did with number 1 and number 2. I can go straight, since A is 1, I can go straight to putting my 2 binomials. Use your middle variable x. X times x is x squared. A negative 3 and a positive 9. My first 3 examples, A was 1 on all of those, and this is the easiest kind to do. My next 2 examples, A is not going to be 1, so we're going to have to do that a little differently. Now let's look at number 4. Do I have a common factor? Is 8 the common factor? 8 divides into 16, but does 8 divide into 28? No. 2 is a common factor. I have 4, 14, and 8 left, but then those are all even numbers. So I believe 4 is my greatest common factor. 8x squared divided by 4 is 2x squared. Negative 28x divided by 4 is negative 7x. Negative 16 divided by 4 is negative 4. 8x squared, negative 28x, negative 16. Yes. Now, A is 2, B is negative 7, and C is negative 4. I'm going to bring down my 4, put it with my answer so I can forget about it. So here's where my answer is going to be. Then I'm going to make my chart A times C, sum of B. -7. Next, I need a negative product, negative sum, so bigger number will be negative. 1 times -8 is -8. 1 plus -8 is -7. So I found it right away. Now, I cannot go straight to x and then +1 and -8. Technically, you can. If you're interested in seeing how to do that method, please check out my videos on my YouTube channel. Just search for Lisa Bibb and you'll find some other methods of factoring, but I want to do factoring by grouping just to help my students and be consistent in this video. Okay, so to do factoring by grouping, you keep your first term the same, 2x squared. You replace -7x with 1x and -8x. So plus 1x minus 8x. 1x plus -8x is -7x. And then keep your last term of -4. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this down here, and I apologize for not leaving myself room, but it's okay. I'm going to group the first two terms together. I'm going to put a plus sign in the middle and group the last two terms together. Next, I'm going to look at my first group. My first group does not have a numerical greatest common factor, but they both have an x in common. So I'm going to put an x on the outside of parentheses. 2x squared divided by x is 2x. X divided by x is +1. Then I'm going to take out the greatest common factor here. They're both negative, so I can erase that plus sign I just wrote down. So I'm going to put a negative because they're both negative, and they have a numerical factor of 4. -8x divided by -4 is +2x. -4 divided by -4 is +1. Did this work? Yes, it did. This binomial and this binomial are the same. So that's their common factor. 2x plus 1 is the common factor. Then when I take away the common factor, look what's left that my fingers aren't covering up. X over here, -4 over here. X and -4. Now these need to go up here in my answers. So I've got 2x plus 1 and x minus 4.